So, the mad professor's been doing squiggles again. Okay, right then. So I said that I was going to explain what the vanishing point and limit point is, and it's one of those things that over the years a lot of students that have tried to explain the vanishing point and limit point have got quite confused about it. So I've developed a system to help them to understand what it means and what it's doing. Remember I said in one of my previous videos that the vanishing point, limit point is merely a technique for basically allowing you to predict the future in a way, in the sense of how tight a corner is, just how tight that corner is. Whether it's what we call a constant radius curve, it's the same curve all the way around. Whether it's an increase in radius turn, that's one that as you go in it's a bit tighter but then it opens on the way out. Or it's the worst one, the decrease in radius turn, that's the turn that as you go in it tightens up on the way around. Well, what I've done here is I'm showing you the technique over the page that I use as well in conjunction with this. So let's show you what's happening with the limit point. We said the limit point is a technique where the offside, I'm going to show here, hopefully I'll not get any copyright infringement by doing this. It's a very, very old book, 1963, it's from Roadcraft. And this here is showing the motorcyclist approaching the bend. And you'll see that near side here and the offside, and there's a point, and that's shown by the arrow. And then you'll see in picture number 2, the motorcyclist is getting closer to the bend, but the vision point hasn't moved much further round. And in 3 here, we get to a point now where the motorcyclist is much closer to the vanishing limit point, and the vision is actually starting to really reduce. So I had long reduced vision to begin with here, and then that vision was reducing down and reducing down. So you'd say it was catching the limit point. So that means we should be slowing when we see this. Then you'll see the motorcyclist here, the vision, the point where the offside and the near side form a point. You'll see here, as the rider's going round here, that vision in these photographs all looks about the same. The distance, in other words, if the bike goes forward, I don't know, 20 bike lengths, the vision moves 20 bike lengths. Here it's went forward 20 bike lengths, it moves 20 bike lengths. Moves forward 20 bike lengths is 20 bike lengths. So it's remaining the same distance. At that point there, we maintain the throttle. Alright, the severity of the bend we've got here is the same as what we've got here, we maintain it. Here, we're closing the throttle, we're braking, we're slowing down if we need to brake, but we're certainly slowing. And this one here, you'll see the vision here, the limit point, is the pointer starting to get further away now. Look, it's beginning to extend further away, get further away. Now it's kind of hard to show in these type of pictures, but at least gets this idea, and I'm going to show it on my drawing here. Now, over the years I've also discovered that the closer you get to a bend before the limit point begins to move, because it looks like it's stationary, the closer you get to the bend before it begins to move, the tighter that bend is. It's like a warning, it's shouting back to you, slow down, slow down. Now, if you get closer to the bend, or sorry, you're further back from the bend, and already the limit point, vanishing points begin to move, and you're well back, then I can tell you it's not a very tight bend. Now, with experience now, I can tell what that distance is. I can tell if it's a sort of a gentle curving corner, if it's a mid-radius corner, or if it's a very tight corner. So there's the principle. Now let's look over at the board now then, Wes, over here. Now what I've done is, being the kind of engineering background that I've got, I needed to find out for my brain what was actually happening. So what I did here is I drew a bend here. You'll see I've got a bend here drawn. Now what I've done here is I've actually, you'll see what I've done here, I've put A, position number A, where the motorcyclist is positioned on approach here, and I'm going to go and grab my pen, stay where you are with this, grab my pen, and what I've done here is I've showed a right hand bend, and I've showed trees down the right hand side, and I've got a standard centre line on the way in, and then I've sort of simulated a solid white line for no overtaking. And you'll notice here that the rider, from point A, if the rider extends the vision forward, can see to A dash because of the tree line obstructing the view. The rider cannot see across here, the rider can only see to here. Now I could have extended this further down, and trust me, even from there the rider would have still been seeing pretty much the same point. So I've kind of cut that bit out, that bit would have remained stationary. So to get some kind of movement on the drawing, the rider now moves forward a whole pen length. Now that pen length could be, if you look at it there, it could be 4 or 5 bike lengths. But you'll notice that it's not a pen length of extra vision that you've got. The rider, the limit point's just beginning to move, it's been stationary up to that point, it's just beginning to move, but it's not matched yet. It's not even moved the length of the pen line. Now the rider moves forward again, length of a pen, another, we'll say 4 or 5 bike lengths at least. Notice, still not getting that length between B and C. Look, so B to B dash, or B hyphen, C to C dash, or D C hyphen. So full pen length, but again, just the length of the top. So it still looks like we're kind of catching the limit point. It is moving a little bit, but we're still catching it. In other words, we're not ready to start maintaining the throttle yet. We're still slowing. Now notice something happens here between C and D. The distance is nigh on about the same. So you would be slowing up to this point, slowing, slowing, and at this point here, you'd be starting to now maintain the speed that you've set. Now bear in mind this speed that you've set going in, you're still going to be able to stop within the distance you can see to be clear whilst on your side of the road. There's a number of other factors that you'll be using. You'll be looking at man-made natural features. You'll be looking at any road signs and any road markings that were present. For example, is there a sharp bend warning sign? Was the letters SLOW across the road? Was there maybe black and white chevrons? I saw an accident the other day there where I've got the wrong colour pen, but you get the idea. It was on YouTube, and the person's coming into the corner, and there's a series of black and white chevrons. Now they're positioned on the apex of the bend, and the more black and white you see, then the more severe the bend is. Or it might not even be a severe bend, but a long fast straight leading up to the bend. Now, like I always say, there's no such a thing really as a tight bend. If you go around any bend slow enough, it's not a tight bend. If you go around a 5 mile an hour, if you go around a really tight bend at 5 mile an hour, I can trust tell it's no tight bend. I know it's still physically tight looking, but what I mean by that is you could have a gentle curving bend, and if you go in it far too fast, then it suddenly becomes a tight bend. So when you get warning signs with lots of black and white chevrons, even if it's black and white chevron post, another post black and white chevron, another post black and white chevron, that means that that's a long bend that goes on for a while. Now a bend like this where it's a short in, turn, out, that would have one set, black and whites, and it would tend to be on the apex of the bend. If that bend went on for a long time, you might have a series of them on posts warning that the bend continues on. So you've got to look out for the road signs, the road markings, you know, the bend signs, the SLOW, what are these telling you, slow down, etc, etc. The next thing you'll be looking at is the camber, the slope. Remember we talked about that. Is it downhill, is it off camber? What's the surface like? Is it loose grit gravel? Is it wet? Is it damp? Is there changes in colour here? If there's changes in colour, there could be changes in grip. Maybe there's change of tarmac surface here, for example. So we're assessing all these things before we even get to the vanishing point, limit point. So all that's got to be assessed on the way in. The man-made, the natural features, the road signs, the road markings, the camber, the slope, the elevation changes, the integrity of the surface. Now, this is my own wee trick here, which I'll show you over the page. You probably won't find it in any book, it's just what I do, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then this vanishing point, limit point. Now notice what's beginning to happen here now with between D and E. Look at the distance for D and E, and then look at the distance for D and E. It's beginning to match at this point. Look at E and F though. Look at that short distance covered by the motorcyclist. Now bear in mind, the cyclist would be taking a line up here like this kind of thing. Alright. Now look what happens between E and E and F. Relatively short distance, only the length of the pen lead, yet look, the vision suddenly shoots away. So the rider's view is beginning to open up. Now in the old police roadcraft, they would still keep that position until the offside and near side separated fully and the rider could see where they want to go to next. Some of the newer police officers that I speak to are doing the roadcraft, they would tend to start squaring the corner off now. Their theory being that if the limit point did start coming back to meet them again and the bend was tightening up, then they would just simply move back over again. So basically, if you're catching the limit point, you should be slowing down. If the limit point and this is going away at the same rate as you're moving through, you should maintain. That's you now got the speed set, maintain that. That means basically getting back on the throttle, having the bike under drive, under load, but not under acceleration. And when you get to the point like this where the vision's starting to open up, providing it's safe, you can start to come out of there now and start to smoothly accelerate off the bend, providing it's safe to do so. Now, if I was got a bend sign telling me that the next bend is a left-hand bend like I've drawn here, then I would now be pulling myself from this position here now back over towards an offside position to set up for the left bend. If there wasn't a solid white line here and I could see right across the bend and I've got enough distance here, there's nothing wrong with going right across the other side. But what I don't do is I never ever put my tyres where my eyes have not been, and I've got to make sure there's no danger or hazard in here. If I'm moving across, and of course I wouldn't move across a solid line, but if I'm straightening the bend out and going across, it's because I've got enough distance, I can see it's safe, no point piddling about down here, I can just get across. I'm across here for vision, let's be honest, I'm here for vision. Once I get that vision I can see, I can cut across. Now, I'll talk about overtaking and all that stuff probably another time. This is all about bends, because I'd be setting up, I'd be coming up on the shoulder of the corner for what we call a shoulder overtake. I'd be moving out after this for the overtake, before the next bend. I've shown squiggly lines here because that could be a distance. No point waiting till you're off the bend, the car gets along, comes off the bend in front of you at 50, and then you wait till 40 mile per hour, for example, gets halfway along here and it's back up to 60 mile per hour, and then you think about the overtake, because now you've lost overtaking time, you've got to go past much faster and then dive in the blaze of brake lights. Personally, I'd be looking for this white line finishing here, moving up onto the shoulder, seeing the overtakes on, out, using IPSGA, final check near side, squirt past and back in plenty of time before the bend, and the job's done. I've got the performance of a motorcycle to allow me to do that. Now, so there's how the limit point's actually working, and that's actually showing you how the limit point works. This idea, if you can see it, A to C slowing because we're catching, D to E maintaining it because we're matching the limit point, the distance we go forward is the same distance we can see, G start to go because the limit point, vanishing point's opening up. Now I should say here that when the limit point starts to move and it matches for only a short while and starts to go, it means it's a short sharp bend. When you go in and the limit point starts to match and it remains matched for a long time, for longer, it just means it's a longer bend that you're in. Alright, so be aware of that as well. Now, one other thing that I want to see, a lot of people at this point sometimes say to me, and I'm just going to grab another pen here, Lewis, say to me, but you know, what happens if the bend tightens back up again? Well, I'm going to show you what happens if the bend tightens back up again. Let's say the bend did this. Watch what happens to the limit point. Now remember what happened to D and E. D and E at this bit here was about the same. Well, look here, D to E, it's about the same. But look what happened to E and F. Before, when we had E and F and we moved that distance, remember it went all that distance. Look what's happening E and F now though. Suddenly E and F, look, there's where F would be. It's a really short distance. E dash, F dash, it's starting to close down. Now watch, if I did another one from here and take that one across, look, F, G, G. Now, I'd be realising that the limit point is being maintained still. So I'd be realising that I can't open up the throttle yet. I'd still have to maintain it. Now, you can see there's a point when I go around here, when again it would start to shoot away again. So that's how the limit point works. Now we're going to show this with actually out on the road. I'm actually going to take the phone and show you how it's happening as well. But there's the limit point, vanishing point, brilliant technique. So when I'm approaching bends, I'm using all this, the man-made natural features, road signs, road markings, the camber slope, the elevation, and I'm taking all that information, putting it into my riding plan. I'm also using the vanishing point, limit point like I just showed you, I'm putting that in the riding plan. And now comes the extra bit that I do, and this is something that I've developed over the years that helps me enormously. Gosh, what hand does all that mean, John? Right, what I've discovered over the years, I've drawn right hand bends here. And what I use is this one. I look at if that's a right hand bend, I look at the near side and I look at the rate that this curves round it. If it's got a gentle curve, right, then it'll tend to be a 1 o'clock pointer, as I call it, a 1 o'clock pointing bend. That's not too tight. If it curves a bit more, it's a 2 o'clocker sitting at 2. And if it really goes right round sharp like that, back on itself, it's a 3 o'clock one. Now that's really tight. Now I find that when they're like that, I'm using that, but what I'm also using is how far over the limit point actually is. And what I find is, from this line here, which is the offside line, this is my near side line, the offside, if I project that back down, there's a certain distance it moves over. Notice if it's really sharp, that's a short distance. Notice if it's opening up, if it's not as sharp, that's a bigger distance. Notice here where the bend goes on forever, a gentle curving bend that goes on for a long time. Notice that the limit point's way off to the right here. This is a big distance. So I'm using this distance, I'm using the rate of curve for a 12, 1, 2 and a 3, and combined with my limit point. That's why when I arrive at bends, I don't arrive at the bend thinking, oh my god, I'm in a bend, what do I do now? So we'll go back now and finish off this video now and actually see how all this comes together. This is why when you approach a bend, you need to approach it using the system of motorcycle control. Getting all that information on approach then. Information about the man-made, the natural features, the road signs, the road markings, the camber, the slope, the elevation, using my technique that I described there over, that I use that as well, and the build-in, the limit point, vanishing point, like my crystal ball, and I use all of that combined with my rider skills to be able to get around the bend safely. There you go. Finished with the theory. We're going to now prove this all out in the road. Thank you.